this problem, we're going to calculate the 7-day rolling average of stock prices. So we'll be given a sequence of daily stock prices, and then we want to take the 7-day rolling average for these. So we can look right at the sample test case and get a good idea of what's going on. So if we look at the first 7 prices, which these are just in sequence in order, and the numbers just add 1 so that it's easy to compute and look at the output, but it doesn't have to be like this. So if we look at the first 7 days, 1 through 7, and we take an average, we get 4, right? We take the next 7 days, 2 through 8, take an average, we get 5. Next 7 days, 3 through 9, take an average, get 6. So right away, we can just get started and we can do exactly what we just said. So, right, we can take the sum. How do we take an average of 7? Well, we take the sum of the 7 elements and we divide it by 7. Then we can take the next sum of the 7 elements, divide it by 7. So let's just start with doing exactly that, because we should always at least be able to come up with a brute force solution. So if we look at this, for I in range of, we can start at 7. We'll assume we have at least 7 elements in our stock prices. So start at 7, go to the length of the stock prices plus 1, and then we just need that window sum, right? So what's the window sum? It's just the sum of the stock prices of the first, well, the last 7 elements up to the current element. And then for our rolling average, we just take that sum and we divide it by the week 7. And then we can just return that. So that should be it. That should be enough to pass. So yep, that passes the test case. But you can see that this is pretty inefficient, right? Because we calculate the first 7, sum of the first 7, take an average, then we calculate the sum of the next 7. And if you look at the sum of the next 7, it mostly overlaps with the sum of the first 7. The only difference is you're subtracting 1 and adding 8, right? And then if you look at the next 7, well, what are you doing? You're subtracting the 2 and you're adding the 9. You look at the next 7, well, subtracting 3, adding the 10, so on. So how can we utilize this? Because right now it's a our time complexity is big O of the length of the stock prices times the K, which K is kind of the how big of a span you're taking an average. So in this case, it'd be 7, so N times K. And we can get this down to just a linear pass, right? So what can we do? Well, the very first thing, we do know that the first 7 days, we can get the average of those right away, right? So window sum is the sum of the stock prices for the first 7 days, and then simply divide that by 7 and we get the average. Okay, so now we have our rolling average. We have our, with the first rolling average of the first 7 days. And then what do we want to do next? We want to just, okay, we calculate the sum here. That's what we have. And now we want to subtract 1 and add 8. So what can we do? Well, our window sum is just going to be our window sum, which we already have, subtract the 1, which is going to be our stock prices at I minus 7, and then we'll add the next stock price for the current day. And then we can keep our rolling average the same because it's just the window sum divided by 7. The only thing we have to be careful for here is we don't need to go to length plus 1, right? Because in this case, our I will be at the end when we're at the length of the stock price minus 1. So if we do this, this should work. And yes, that passes. And that's it. So this is a sliding window technique. And sliding window technique is very good when you're doing things like taking a rolling average or doing something where you have a window, like our window size 7, and you're rolling the window or sliding the window. That's why it's called sliding window technique. So we started here, right? And then we're just sliding it over one element. And when we do that, a lot of times we have something that we're computing, and instead of recomputing it, we can just subtract something off from the last window, add something into the new window, right? So the next one we'd remove 2 and add 9, and the next one remove 3, add 10. So that's why it's the sliding window, very useful. So brush up on it. Thank you.